What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 60 of our Tracksuit to the Top series here in Lewis FC in the Premier League. Hopefully you guys are good. Today I've got for you a live comp against Brighton in the league, but first and foremost we've got to review the fixture since the last episode, and I've also got a few transfers which I forgot to cover last episode that are worth covering, so I guess we'll start with them. The two players in question are two Bosmans that are coming in at the end of their contracts on free. So the first one here is Stefano Denswil. He is Dutch, as you can see. Surprisingly, he's never made an international appearance for Holland, but a good player, a good centre-back, which I think I was looking for. Obviously, at the moment we have Harayan, who's been a very good centre-back for us this year, the Armenian. And we also have Mijailovic as well, but I'm actually thinking about converting Mijailovic to play as a defensive player, perhaps even as our ball-winning midfielder next year, just because it suits him quite well. As a result, I was kind of looking for a centre-back to see if there were any available, and Stefano here stood out quite nicely. He's a very good centre-back, very good in the air as well, which is something that we have lacked a little bit of in that centre-back position because of just a lack of aerial ability with our two current centre-backs, I guess. The other player coming in is China. He's Brazilian. He's a good little wide man, as you can see, and he looks like he's going to be a pretty useful player for us. He's still not fully scouted, but he's got some really solid technicals. He's obviously going to be playing that wide midfielder attack role for us. He's not got the craziest physicals, but he's got some really nice creative stats, so he's more than capable of playing down the middle if we need him to as a playmaker. And yeah, I'm very, very pleased to get this guy in because he looks like he's going to be a really well-rounded off player. Originally I signed him thinking I'd be playing him out on the right, but the more I look at him, the more I think he could be a very useful player in the midfield, maybe a slightly less mobile playmaker. But anyway, good player, coming in on a free, fairly small wages, can't complain. Anyway, on to the results. Last episode was the 1-0 defeat against Reading, so you can see since then we've played a lot of games, but we've struggled of late. We have won one of our last, 6 Premier League games. We'll start off with the positives, I guess. We beat Watford initially in the FA Cup 4th round. Matthew Lewis and Iheanacho with the goals. Convincing performance, good win. Next result was a 2-2 draw, good to get a point. This was against Norwich, who I believe we lost 1-0 in the opposite leg, so good sign of improvement. And we did come from 2 goals behind late on, so that was pretty pleasing, if I'm honest, to make the comeback like that. The next result, we got smashed by Manchester United, who of course we beat earlier in the year 3-0, so they got their revenge. Lewis Thompson went off injured and he's been out for a good few weeks. I'm not even sure if he's back at the moment. Certainly not match fit. Actually, he's due back in a day, but strained knee ligaments for him, which is pretty bad. In the end, we lost quite convincingly. The next result, a clash against a team right down there at the bottom end of the table, Sunderland. We completely outperformed them. We were the better team and we lost by the virtue of them scoring 1 goal, which did come from a penalty, and ourselves just not being particularly clinical in the final third. Anyway, next result was against Everton, the only league win in this run of results. It was a really good result, 3-0 at home at the Dripping Pan. Worth noting that Everton are, or were, second in the league at the time of us playing them. Right, as you can see now, they've dropped to 4th, but the Premier League is really tight at the top. We reached our 38 points total as well, which is worth noting. So with 10 games left, we're looking good. And there are a few other results to tell you guys about here. So we played Tottenham 3 times in the space of 10 days. Twice in the FA Cup, as we did draw the initial game against them 2-2. You can see Aarons and Lewis with the goals for us there. We then played them a week later in the Premier League and we drew 2-2 again for the second time in a week. Unfortunately, however, when it came to the FA Cup replay away from home going to White Hart Lane, we did lose 2-1. Suso's goal was not enough as Mandzukic got the decisive goal at the end of the first half, and we just lacked that clear kind of, what's the word, kind of just any cutting edge, I guess, really. The last result of these runs of results was a defeat to West Ham. Deservedly so. West Ham were the better team. They had Winston Reid sent off late on in the game, but to be honest, the game was dead by the 91st minute. As you can see, they got 2 goals early on that really took the wind out of our players' sails, and obviously since then they've gone on to even better things. So anyway, looking at our team, everyone's pretty fit. We've got a few injuries. Shea Ojo's out, which is a shame. He's out with a damaged shoulder for just over a week. So that's a little bit of a shame, but to be honest, we're not looking too bad. Pretty happy with how the season's going now. We've achieved the goal of staying up. Granted, our form of late has been a little bit discouraging just because we've been performing really poorly. But I guess the main thing is that we've got the points that we should need, in theory, to stay up. So if we can get a few more from our last few games, that's going to be great. But there isn't a lot left to play for, really, in the league, because I can't see us pushing for top 7, although we are still within touching distance, theoretically. In fact, I think it's only 5th and 6th that get Europa League football anyway. Regardless, the basic kind of situation is the fact that we're kind of at a point now where I'm very happy with what we've done. Just need a few more points to make sure of things. And it's been a good Premier League year, all in all, you'd have to say. So anyway, looking at the team performances, just a little bit of, I guess, a recap. You can see here, Rolando Aarons has got a few goals of late. You also see Nacho and Lewis fighting out for that top goal scorer mark. Worth noting that Nacho's attracted interest from a few teams, one of which was Porto in January, but we managed to convince him to stay, which was good. Worth noting that a lot of players' values have gone up as a result of us being in the Premier League. Nacho is now worth £19 million. Sonogo worth 17 million. He's back from the African Cup of Nations, which is good for him. I can't remember if they won it. No, they didn't. Ivory Coast lost the semi-final and then they won the 3rd place playoffs. Unfortunately, our players couldn't get their hands on any kind of title of any kind. But Sonogo's improving a lot. He's actually got faster recently, which is terrifying to think that a player of his calibre and as good as him is improving with his physicals, particularly his speed, age 22. Because that doesn't happen that often, but he's looking like an incredible player. And he's still got some room to grow into, so I'm intrigued to see how good he can become as kind of a centre mid for us. But anyway, looking at the goals front, I've already talked about this a little bit. Suso's grabbed a few, but really, Nacho and Lewis have just been the go-to guys. In terms of the assist, Lewis and Nacho's partnership shines through again. You can see they've assisted themselves, or rather assisted one another, quite a lot this year. They've got 21 assists between them. Also, Rolando Aarons and Suso either wing doing some work, and Sonogo as well has done some work for us too. In terms of average ratings, Rolando Aarons actually has the highest average rating in the side. He's been a really good player for us, and he's still improving, which is really pleasing. And he's just been great this year. You know, a 7.45 average rating. Not quite his performances of last year, but obviously moving up to the Premier League was going to be hard, and he's kind of stepped up, I guess, to the task at hand. In terms of Harian, a player who had a great start to the year, the centre-back still doing fairly well for us. He's not been so good recently, but then the whole team's been a little bit disappointing of late. But a 7.21 average rating kind of indicates, I guess, that he is doing some decent work for us. Anyway, let's get into today's game. We are playing Brighton, who I believe are one place below us. In fact, no, there are a few places below us now because some teams behind us played games in hand. But you can see if we were to beat them today, we could leapfrog Manchester United, although they have a game in hand on us. Really, we're looking for a top half finish. That's kind of the aim now, I think, this year has got to be. For top half, mid-table would still be a very, very good performance. I did, in January, change my board expectations to achieve a top half finish. So that is kind of the minimum expectation, I guess, that I have of myself and of my squad. Anyway, good team talk there. Get into today's game. We're looking for a good result. I think the next episode will be the game against Chelsea, the last game of the season. Right now they're top of the league, so it could be a chance for us to live com ourselves playing the champions. But also, I've not done a live com of one of the bigger games, and with that being the last game, that kind of fits in nicely. As I mentioned at this point, the league is sealed in terms of we've achieved what we need to achieve. There's a little bit of work perhaps to be done to get maybe a few more points just to make it really comfortable. But in reality, we should, at this point, have now done enough with the points that we have. But anyway, we're on the attack here. Tyson out wide. Can he whip in a ball of quality? He can. Lewis is in the centre, headed away, but Aarons is there. Matthew Lewis, Nacho parred away, and Suso can't get to the rebound. But good early sign, good, I guess, to get a good clear-cut chance early on. Looking at the stats, both teams having their fair share of chances as Aarons has another effort. I think that was blocked by the defender. But this is a very, very good start. Obviously, we've not won many of late. As I mentioned, we've had one win, and that came against Everton in second. Maybe this is an opportunity, however, to get back to winning ways. Confidence is a tad bit low. Players aren't 100% happy on the morale front because we've lost a few games in a row, and this is perhaps a chance to really pick it up against a team who are a bottom half team. I was very disappointed, obviously, in this run of results. We lost to Sunderland, who were in the relegation zones. That was disappointing. Good goal by Matthew Lewis there. But we've had some opportunities against smaller teams and lesser teams in the last few fixtures, and we've not taken them. The draw against Tottenham was a little bit disappointing because they've not done great this year, and we were playing them just as they appointed their new manager, which I guess made things a little bit trickier for us because he really had his players playing for him as the new manager. But I don't know, things have gone downhill since obviously the last episode where we'd pulled off some real upsets, but a win here would be good, and we are on the attack again. Lewis, can you thread through Iheanacho? You can't, but he holds up the ball well, and Aarons is there. Joe Allen, Sonogo, Aarons, Stockdale, fast off his line there, the keeper. But looking at the stats, we are all over Brighton at this point. 30 minutes in, we're really taking the game to them, although they've got a chance here. Lorison, Saidi grabs the goal to make it 1-1, and that has come against the run of play, you'd have to say. But we got caught out. We pushed too high up, and they've hit us on the break, and defenders all get sucked towards the ball there. No one is marking a man, and that's just poor concentration, composure. I guess a good sign of good work rate from our midfield to work back there, but there was no real intelligence by anyone on our team to pick up that free man, and that's disappointing. But anyway, looking at it, we're still on top, even though the goal's gone in, and we're on the attack here. Sonogo, Suso, Iheanacho, he bangs it in. Is it offside? I think it's offside. It is. The linesman raises his flags, and that would have made my half-time team talk a little bit easier. But yeah, disappointing first half, because we've been all over them. We've had the better of the play here, but we've just not been good enough. So I'm going to get the players fired up. I want them to be kind of getting to every ball first. I want them to be motivated for this game, but I don't want to kind of motivate them in a positive way. I want them to kind of convert maybe a bit of the frustrations which are coming out from missing the chances that we've had and being as dominant as we are, but not making it count on the scoreline, and really see our team, I guess, perform better. But you can see Brighton on the attack again here. Ball is switched over to Edwards, Lorison, and he scores to make it 2-1 to Brighton. And this has gone against the run of play, but it's just not good enough. It is just not good enough by our players. I'm going to tell them aggressively, show some passion, because this is not good. We've been the better team by a long way, but right now we're not making it count. We are not making it count. Let's go for our standard kind of, let's apply some pressure change and push higher up and see what we can do. In terms of people not performing, Joe Allen's had a really poor game. He's actually looking quite tired. I'm going to bring on Tariq, I think, and then swap him with Sonogo, and then I guess we'll play Tariq as an advanced playmaker set to attack. Throwing a few more men forward here. We're going to leave ourselves exposed at the back, but with 20 minutes left, we've been the better team by a long way, and I'm looking for us to go a bit more offensive. Hopefully, just throw a few more men into the final third, and maybe that's going to break the deadlock. We are on the attack here. Tyson on the overlap, whips it in. Lewis is there, and it heads onto the underside, but it's offside. I didn't think the linesman had given it, but it was a nice finish there by Matthew Lewis. But unfortunately, the assistant's flag was raised, and we've dominated this game. This is probably the most dominant performance in terms of stats we've had this season. So to not be doing anything more with this dominance is really disappointing, and time is slipping away here. It's looking like we're going to lose 2-1, and I don't want to say I've been FM'd, but you will have heard that term, I'm sure, if you've ever been online and Googled Football Manager, but I do feel like I've been FM'd this game. Brighton winning 2-1. I'm going to tell the players that was not good enough. We had chances to win the game. We didn't take them. We were given offside twice. Yeah, just all in all, a pretty disappointing performance, and that kind of epitomises what our form's been like of late. But anyway, that's going to wrap things up for this episode. Obviously, next episode, as I mentioned, is going to be the last game of the season, I think, against Chelsea at home. Hopefully we won't get demolished for that one, and hopefully I'll see you guys on that video. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. I do appreciate it, guys, and as always, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you've got any comments, leave them down below. And it is me, Jack, and I will hopefully see you guys for episode 61. So I'll see you guys then.